Situation in Serbia with the arrest of a 13-year-old boy after he killed 8 of his classmates, 7 of them girls, 1 of them a boy, and a security guard. We understand 6 other children are very seriously injured, a teacher as well. But the boy, as we've seen in those images, has been taken into custody. We understand he called the police himself to be arrested, although others had called the police as well. Now, we're also hearing that he will not be criminally charged because under Serbian law, children cannot be charged for crimes, even as heinous as this one is. But his father will be charged. What exactly those charges are, we don't know yet. But the reason the father is being charged is because the 2 guns, the 9mm pistols that were used in this attack, belonged to the father. They were legally registered firearms, but of course, this 13-year-old boy was able to have access to them.
Problem in the ballgame is there are a lot of weapons left over from the 90s war, so the fear that this is a glass breaker is so real. Oh, yeah.
3 magazine rounds with 15 rounds inside of them and unleashed them on his classmates. Errol, Lano.
It's very dark stuff there, MTRs, and you make those comparisons with the US. Much easier to get weapons in the US, much more difficult in places like Serbia, and you've noted how the father has been arrested. So what more are we learning about this 7th grader's potential?
I mean, low-key, that's not like a bad policy. I'm not kidding. Like, that seems like... It seems like not an entirely bad policy. Like it's something that America's never going to look at that and go, yeah, we should do that. But isn't that a little fuck? The kids are 100% innocent. They're not, though. And like, this is one of those edge cases. You know what I mean?
Motive.
Yeah, it's a really good question, a perplexing question, and one that I'm sure many parents who are grieving in Serbia are asking themselves, particularly those who've lost their children. Just how could a 13-year-old want to do this to his classmates? The short answer is we don't know yet. We have heard reports that he may have been the victim of bullying. Some have even suggested he did poorly on exams, but...
Brother, chatters, I'm not saying a 13-year-old should roam freely after, killing 9 people. Okay? I'm simply stating that adding legal culpability to the fucking parent of a minor, I think, is a good decision. Like, no, man, you can't fucking... What? You can't kill 9 people and just, like, roam the earth. What kind of fucking take is that? I don't even think that they're doing that in Serbia. I'm sure there's like some kind of institutionalization that is going to happen to this kid. Yeah, he's probably in custody somewhere. Are you out of your mind? Like, guys, like places outside of the United States of America are not like, operating under different boundaries, okay? No matter how, like, America tries to sensationalize it, it's not like... the kid is probably institutionalized in some way, shape, or form. Okay? And if not, they will make an exception. I'll give you a great example of this. Anders Breivik. Now, in Norway, you don't have life sentences. Like, there is no life sentence in Norway. The maximum amount that you can get is 25 years, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me, right? If I'm wrong, 27. But what they do in Norway, for example, is in the case of like Anders Breivik, who is a white supremacist mass murderer terrorist. If you remember, he killed like more than 55 students that he thought were Marxist on an island, on a retreat. What ended up happening to him is that he will be permanently institutionalized. So he's in prison, right? So what ends up happening is like once he serves out the end of his sentence, he gets all the way to like the 20th year of his maximum sentence, he killed 77 people. Okay, so, thank you. So what ends up happening is they will continue his sentence if he is not technically rehabilitated. And considering that, he was an adult at the time when he committed these mass murders, these atrocities that are literally unheard of for Norway, that there is most likely going to be continuous extension, 10 years tacked on to his charges at the end of his 20-year sentence, what they consider to be maximum sentencing, and they will keep extending it over and over again while doing numerous psych evaluations to see if he truly has rehabilitated. So even though on paper Norway doesn't have a maximum life imprisonment sentence, it doesn't matter because his sentence will continue. He will continue to serve a prison sentence that will get extended over and over again at the end of his prison sentence. Similar principle here. I'm sure that because this person is a minor and underage, they are technically not considered a criminal in the criminal justice system, and their parents undergo actual legal scrutiny in the criminal justice system. But there's no fucking shot that they just let you go. You know what I mean? They just let you fucking roam free.
But to further to your point, Errol, Serbia is a country which in the 1990s suffered a terrible war, the Balkans War, if you remember. There is a lot of weapons in that country. In fact, it is a country with the third largest number of weapons, and not many of them are registered. But this is also a country which, relative to, say, the U.S. and indeed other countries, has not had a lot of mass.
I know what happened to the killers of Jamie Bulger in the UK who were children. One of them is a fucking pedophile, and has been has gone back to prison. What happened to the other one? Did the other one kill himself or something? Yeah, this is a very famous case of two kids that killed another kid in the UK. And it was a huge deal. They kidnapped a child. They were also two children. They kidnapped the child. They tortured him. And then I think they were 10 years old. And basically they were institutionalized. Everyone wanted them to get the death sentence. But because they were 10 years old, they had the possibility of parole. And then they did get out, as a matter of fact. But one of them was literally a pedophile in his adult age. Yeah, they had mobs forming out of the court. One of the two kept reoffending, and he's, I think, still in prison. So the point is, I personally think it's better to have a criminal justice system that is lenient and focuses on reintegration, rehabilitation, lowering recidivism rates, treating prisoners like human beings, which is demonstrably a more successful form of institutionalization, with exceptions made for criminals that go above and beyond, serial pedophile rapists, mass murderers, and the like, rather than the other way around, where the criminal justice system is by default inhumane, torturous, and creates incredibly high rates of recidivism and very making reintegration into society an unlikely situation that happens by the grace of God, almost like a fucking miracle, with some levels of with some levels of leniency every now and then, like in the case of fucking Brock Turner, when it's a rich white kid, or when you get a rich white kid with affluenza. You know what I mean? Like I think it's better to do it the other way around. Why do you support all of that even when you know that it increases crime among communities like poors and blacks and browns even? What? Hello? I would love to see this study. It would be an outlier. If such a study existed, it would be quite literally an outlier that does not disprove the countless amounts of studies that have been conducted on a rehabilitative approach to the criminal justice system being demonstrably successful. There's even anecdotes that you can look at if your fucking head cannot wrap itself around empirical evidence. So I don't know what the fuck that was, but take a day off and reconsider it, I think. Tonight I did an interview on the Far Left H3 podcast because I believe in the importance of educating people about what is going on in regards to the gender affirming care industry, even if they're pro-gender affirming care. Out of all the interviews I've ever done, this was the rudest and most unprofessional person I've ever spoken to. The whole time I was